I'd like to start by welcoming the Minister of State, Deputy English to the House. I'd like to sincerely congratulate you on your promotion. I think it is richly deserved. You're one of the few people on the government side that makes the trek, as I often do, out to Ballymount. So I think anybody who's willing to do that and go a few rounds with Vincent is more than able for the job that you've just been given. So I sincerely congratulate you and I wish you all the best. Our swords will cross at times because my brief here is education. But I look forward to working with you. So I've tabled this debate this evening to highlight the need for Ireland to re-establish its representative office in Taipei, given the significant potential for greater economic and cultural links between Ireland and Taiwan. I recently visited Taiwan as part of an Oireachtas delegation and was hugely impressed by the country's economic progress, its respect for human rights, and its high-quality health service. Economically, Taiwan is doing extremely well. From 1952 to 2012, it achieved an average annual economic growth rate of 7.3%, which is one of the fastest growth rates in the world. And while the rate of growth has slowed in recent years, given the wider economic environment and the impact of the global financial downturn, it's interesting to note that the global economic crisis has had a much lighter impact on Taiwan than in other developed economies, including our own. Its unemployment rate is below 4%, and the proportion of people living below the poverty line is just 1.5%. Taiwan also has a world-class health service with a national insurance system that's far superior to the Dutch model that the government is currently looking at, and it's something that I intend to. Minister Bradker has just left the House, our new Minister for Health, but it's an issue that I intend to raise with him later as well. They have an excellent system that's based on compulsory health insurance in terms of taxation, and everybody pays into the system. But there are no private providers competing for insurance premiums as is expected in our system. Instead, the competition is at the point of delivery. Their providers compete to provide services, so they keep the costs as low as possible, and they've managed to eliminate waiting lists and provide a really, really top-class service. So I think there's a lot we can learn from Taiwan. In recent years, the country has become one of Asia's main providers of foreign direct investment, ranking only behind Japan, mainland China, Hong Kong and Singapore. So I've no doubt that the opportunities for links between Taiwan and Ireland are immense. Irish companies could be exporting much more to Taiwan, food companies in particular. It was mentioned to us when we were there that they import a lot of their beef from America, and yet they know that Irish beef is superior. The qualities and the conditions in which our cattle are kept, the rules in relation to the feed that's given to cattle, the high standards, and they would like to be importing Irish beef but aren't doing so at present and need a broader trade agreement to do that. A wide range of Irish enterprises could also build business partnerships with local companies that would help them not only to succeed in Taiwan but also in mainland China and Asia generally. So I think Taiwan could be a significant gateway for Irish companies into Asia. There's also great potential for more Taiwanese tourists to come to Ireland. The last government brought in a 90-day visa waiver for Taiwanese tourists so they can now visit without having to go through the rigmarole and administration of getting a visa, and yet the number of tourists that come here is still very small. And I think the reason for that is that there's very little on-the-ground promotion, and because we don't have an office, they're actually selling Ireland as somewhere the Taiwanese people should come. There's also considerable potential to attract more Taiwanese students to our third-level colleges and to our English language schools, and opportunities as well for greater cultural links. They actually have a very successful Irish dancing school in Taipei, and so it was interesting for us to see Taiwanese men and women enjoying Irish dancing and being something that they compete in, and all of that as well. So I think there are opportunities in so many different levels, but Ireland isn't realising these opportunities, and one of the reasons for that is that we don't have a representative office there. We did until a few years ago, but it was withdrawn as part of the cutbacks to the embassies that were put in place. But earlier this year, the government reopened the Vatican Embassy and opened new embassies in other countries, so I think it is opportune now to look at Taiwan. 18 other EU countries have representative offices there in addition to the EU office, and one of the main benefits that they get from that is that there's a monthly meeting between the different representative offices for their respective countries and the EU Trade Office to discuss trade opportunities. So by not being there, we're missing out on that. So that's why I put this adjournment to you today, and I would urge you to raise the issue. I know you have a reply that you've been given by the Department of Foreign Affairs, and I would urge you to use any influence that you have to ensure that we reopen that office. Thank you.
Minister, 4 minutes.
Thanks, Gabriel, and thanks for your kind words at the start. It's funny, I was actually sitting over there last week, looking in here, saying I wouldn't mind being in here someday, so I didn't think it was going to happen this way, so it's funny how things turn out, so thanks for your kind words, and Senator Power, again, thank you for your kind words as well, and I appreciate it, and again, I enjoyed our time working in the committee together over the years. No doubt we'll still be making the trips out to Uncle Vincent on some nights. I don't think I'll escape that even with this job, but that keeps us all on our toes, which is no harm. Just in relation to tonight's debate, you're right, I'm here to speak on behalf of the Minister for Foreign Affairs and Trade, Charlie Flanagan, and Sean Sheridan. They're both sorry they couldn't be here, so I will certainly pass on your comments to them on your words. But I mean, it's an issue that I have an interest in myself, and indeed the trip you went on, I had intended to be on that as well, and I dealt with the guys and I had meant to be on that, so I'm sorry I missed it, but I'm glad you did, and it sounds very positive and certainly a very interesting place, so I think all we can do to increase relations. So just on behalf of the Minister, I want to thank yourself, Senator, for your interest in this area and for your statement under the adjournment. Ireland, along with all EU trade partners, adheres to the One China policy, and as a result cannot have diplomatic relations with Taiwan. This does not preclude the development of economic and trade relations. There was an Irish trade office in Taipei from 1989 until 2011, opened originally under the remit of IBEC, with funding primarily provided by IDA Ireland. The decision to close this office in 2011 was taken by the IDA on a purely commercial basis. The state agencies keep their allocation of resources under review in order to best promote Ireland's economic interests. Reopening a trade office in Taiwan may be considered by the state agencies if a commercial case could be made for this, and you've made a very strong case there tonight, so certainly we'll ask everyone to have a look at this. The government has made extensive efforts to boost trade with China, including the official visit by the now President Xi Jinping to Ireland in 2012, followed by the return visits to China by the Taoiseach and then Taoiseach in 2011 and 2013. Vice Premier Mackay visited Ireland in November 2013. And last month we saw another high-level visit by Liu Yongshang, a leading member of the Politburo Standing Committee. Total Ireland-China trade in goods and services came to approximately $8 billion in 2012. Ireland's trade with Taiwan itself is substantial, in particular with regard to services. In 2013, merchandise trade amounted to $314 million. Of that, exports came to $130 million and imports were $214 million. Trade in services in 2012 was $585 million, with $504 million in exports and $81 million in imports. The government is keen to continue to build such trade relations and to promote other commercial links. For example, the possibility of concluding a double taxation agreement between Ireland and Taiwan is currently being examined. With regard to other ongoing engagement, Taiwan was included in Ireland's working holiday programme since 2012. Ireland and EU partners have also supported, where appropriate, Taiwan's observerships at the multilateral level, and there are regular exchanges at working groups and other fora. Ireland contributes to the regular and comprehensive EU dialogue with Taiwan. I would also add that relations between China and Taiwan have improved markedly of late, with the first official talks between the two sides since 1949 taking place in February 2014 in Nanjing, China, and return talks in Taipei in June. The government welcomes this development. Finally, I should note that Ireland is opening 3 new missions in Asia this year, in Thailand, in Indonesia and in Hong Kong, demonstrating Ireland's commitment to building relations with Asia. Trade with Asia is worth $23 billion annually, and the region will continue to be the driver of the global economy in the years ahead. So again, Senator, thank you for your comments tonight and your interest, and I certainly will briefly 2 minutes on it.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Power, 1 minute, supplementary.
Thank you, Ministers. Thank you for your reply and your assurance that you will raise this issue with the Department of Foreign Affairs for me. I note that you said the decision to close the IDA office was made on commercial grounds. As I said, I think there are very strong commercial reasons for why we should reopen that office now. I think the figures that were mentioned about trade in 2013 are a drop in the ocean compared to what we could actually be doing in Taiwan, and I do think that's a shame. I also note the reference in the reply to Ireland's One China policy, which I think it does seem to be holding us back in respect of our, since you're making us somewhat reticent in relation to developing closer links with Taiwan. I think that's an awful shame because it hasn't stopped 18 other European countries from having representative offices there. I think we should be embracing Taiwan. As you've noted, relations between China and Taiwan are actually improving, and we shouldn't be reticent to step up and to support the Taiwanese people and to develop closer links. One of the things that struck me the most while we were there was respect for human rights, that they're very strong on freedom of expression, on belief, and protecting the human rights of their people in ways that unfortunately haven't yet reached mainland China. And I think as a country that has always prioritised human rights in our foreign policy, we should be supporting them in every way possible in that respect. But I would just again just urge the Minister to bring the points I've made to the attention to the Minister for Foreign Affairs. I'd also like to ask that the government would send a trade delegation over to look at the commercial arguments for reopening an office. I think it would be significant if we sent a Minister of State over with representatives from the IDA or Enterprise Ireland to look at the environment there and the opportunities that we have, and then make an informed decision as to where we go from here.
Thank you, Senator.
Okay, thanks, Senator. And just to briefly say, I mean, again, I'll bring those comments to the Minister. I think it probably would be important that our 2 new ministers would maybe engage with us help and our other colleagues who've been out there and experienced it on the ground and seen this as well, because, you know, apart from the trade, there's a lot of other things. You mentioned the culture and the dancing as well, so I think it would be very important. So maybe we could take it from there. I'll certainly brief the ministers on what you've raised tonight. You've made some very valid arguments. I think it's certainly worth looking at. And I think maybe, I know a number of our colleagues, including yourself, have been out there over the last 3 or 4 years. Maybe we can coordinate a message and get some feedback as well. So thanks for that, and I'll pass it on. And again, apologies to the Minister wasn't here.
Thank you, Minister. Thanks, Senator Power.